How's it going, everyone? This is the George here, and today I'm going to be reviewing Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, with Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse coming out next weekend. And considering the fact that I've reviewed all the Spider-Man movies except for Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, I figured this is a good time to talk about Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. Now, before we begin, if you missed out on any of those Spider-Man reviews, I did a Spider-Man review series back in 2021. It was my first full year of YouTube. I reviewed all the live-action Spider-Man movies leading up to Spider-Man No Way Home. If you want to check those out, I'll put the link down below. But Spider-Man Into Spider-Verse was the 2018 animated film from Sony from Lord and Miller that is about Miles Morales, how he became Spider Man, as well as other variations of other characters from older versions of Peter Parker to Gwen Stacy being Spider Woman, even Peter Porker, Spider Man Noir, Penny Parker, and other. And they're trying to get back home when Pin Super Collider basically is causing this multiverse problem because he wants to try to get his family back. And I'm gonna be honest when it came to this film. When I heard they were making an animated Spider-Man film, I was very hesitant because at the time there were a lot of trust issues when it came to Sony making good Spider-Man movies. After The Amazing Spider-Man 2, after their leaked plans came out about what they had planned for Spider-Man movies, it seems very messy and very uninteresting. And yeah, we got Spider-Man Homecoming where Spider-Man's in the MCU and Spider-Man's now played by Tom Holland, and that was a very good movie. But that was also produced by Marvel Studios, so you can make the case that you can trust Marvel Studios to come in and help make a very good Spider-Man movie. And this film came out 2 months after Venom, which even though Venom made a lot of money, it wasn't that well received. And to be honest, when I saw Venom, I didn't think it was that good of a movie, anyways. And also, Sony Animation, I always think of Sony Animation as one of the weaker, if not the weakest, animation studio. Yeah, they've made some decent films over the years, like Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs, and I did like Surf's Up, but most of the time they make some forgettable, mid to not good animated films. In fact, one of the worst animated movies to ever come out, the Emoji Movie, came out from Sony a year before this movie came out. So I'm gonna be honest, I didn't even bother seeing this movie in theaters because I didn't know if it was gonna be that good. But then it came out, a lot of people loved it, and by the time I had interest in seeing it, it stopped playing. But when it first came out on DVD, I got it on DVD and I saw it for the first time. And one of the biggest movie going regrets that I have is that I didn't see this film in theaters because this film was amazing. It was spectacular. It was one of, if not the best comic book movies ever made. One of the best anime movies ever made. And this film isn't just a Miles Morales story or a Peter Parker story. It's a Spider-Man story. It's about how anyone can wear the mask. And it's got so many themes to it. So the main character of this film is Miles Morales. This is the first time we see Miles on the big screen. And I know he was hinted at in Spider-Man Homecoming, but we didn't really see him. We just saw his Uncle Aaron. But in this film, when we got Miles Morales voiced by Shamik Moore, and he's going to a new school, and he's got a tense relationship with his father. At times, he seems closer to his Uncle Aaron than his father. But then he comes across an incident where Spider-Man's trying to stop this collider from working, and Spider-Man in his last moments trusts him with this drive that can make the machine work, and Kingpin kills him. So Miles, who has these spider powers, feels like it's up to him to become New York's Spider-Man, but then he meets all these other people. And with Miles, he's definitely different from Peter Parker. He's got a different background from Peter Parker. Unlike Peter Parker, he's got both his parents still. He's going. He seems more outgoing than Peter Parker, more social, but at the same time, he's going to a different school, and he doesn't want to really be in this new school. But when it comes to the family dynamic of Miles, I really like his parents. I really liked his relationship with his father, and that some people can make the case that we've kind of seen this before with the cop father son dynamic, but I really liked how it was handled in this film, as well as the relationship with Miles and his uncle. It's very much different from the Peter Parker Uncle Ben relationship, because Miles' Uncle Aaron turns out to be the Prowler who's working for the Kingpin, and he's trying to kill Miles, not knowing that the person that witnessed Spider-Man's death, that has this thing, is really his nephew. So I really like that they definitely make this very much this different from a Peter Parker story. Uh, Speaking of Peter Parker, there are two versions of Peter Parker in this film, and they are a lot older than what we're used to with Peter Parker. Because usually with Peter Parker in the Spider-Man films, we usually see Peter Parker either as a high school student or at most a college student. Before No Way Home came out, we saw older versions of Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man and Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man. The furthest that Spider-Man has kind of gone in his life, or Peter Parker has gone in his life, has been college in the Raimi films. He was still in college in Spider-Man 3. In the Amazing Spider-Man films, he just started college. He just graduated high school and was starting college. Homecoming, Peter Parker was a sophomore in high school. So we never really saw an adult version of Peter Parker who on film that's married, that's been Spider-Man for a long time at this point. So we got the Peter Parker in Miles Morales universe who's been Spider-Man for 10 years. This is the one that gets killed by the Kingpin. And from what we know, he's got a spider cave in his shack where he's got all these suits. May has access to it. He's married to Mary Jane, and it seems like there was no marriage problems with Peter and Mary Jane. So it seems like the Peter Parker that seems to have his life the most organized was the one that got killed and will not be coming back. Then you got Peter B. Parker, who's voiced by Jake Johnson, and he's been Spider-Man for over 2 decades, and he's a Spider-Man that's past his prime. He is divorced from Mary Jane because Mary Jane wants to have kids, and Peter is hesitant to have a family. And May passed away. Things are not going his way, and we see that he's a lot more cruder and more cynical than other versions of Peter Parker that we've seen on the big screen, even on animated shows. But he's mentoring Miles, and you see him and Miles getting close. I love the relationship between the two, the mentor relationship. And it's great to see Peter Parker in a different kind of role where he's teaching someone else to become Spider Man. I very much enjoy that aspect. And over time, he's warming up to Miles. And at one point, he's one of the few people that believes in Miles, but also understands that Miles needs to take a leap of faith to become like them, to become Spider Man. And the other main Spider character in this film is Gwen Stacy, voiced by Haley Steinfeld, and she is Spider Woman in her universe. And this is probably my favorite version of Gwen Stacy I've seen in a film. In Spider-Man 3, that version really didn't need to be there. And while I like Emma Stone's Gwen Stacy in the Amazing Spider-Man films, I feel like this version of Gwen Stacy is the most interesting. Her background, of how she becomes Spider-Woman, how she lost her version of Peter Parker because in her universe Peter Parker becomes the Lizard, and also her friendship with Miles is one of my favorite aspects in this film as well. And then you got other versions. You got Nicolas Cage voicing Spider-Man Noir. You got Peter Porker, who's the cartoony, Looney Tunish variant. Um, and then you got Penny Parker, who you would say is like the more anime version of a Spider person. Kingpin's the main villain in this film, and I'm gonna be honest. When it came to the first time I saw this film, I didn't really care so much for Kingpin as the main villain. But the more times I rewatch this film, the more I understand Kingpin's motivations. He wants to bring his family back, who died died after they caught him in a confrontation with Spider-Man, and his wife was horrified. And he's trying to bring them back. So I understand why he's mad at Spider-Man, why he's doing the things that he's doing. There's other villains you see in this film. You see Tombstone appear in a film for the first time. You see Scorpion. You see a monstrous version of Green Goblin. The two other villains I would say are main focal points in this film are Prowler, who is Miles' Uncle Aaron, and Olivia Octavius, who interestingly enough is voiced by the same actress who plays Agatha on WandaVision, Catherine Hahn. And I like this version of Octavius. I thought she was very interesting, entertaining, definitely new compared to what we've seen before. Now, I will say with Kingpin, he still ain't gonna stand out as much as Willem Dafoe's Green Goblin, Alfred Molina's Doc Ock, or Michael Keaton's Vulture. But he's still a very good villain in my opinion. I still understand his motivations. But again, it's also kind of hard to compare because at the time this film came out, I think it was after season 3 of Daredevil, where Kingpin is played by Vincent D'Onofrio, and D'Onofrio is fantastic in that role. So it's very hard to kind of top it even in animation. The animation, by the way, is phenomenal. This is Sony's best animation by far. None of their other films come close to topping this movie's animation. At times, it definitely feels like you're watching like an animated comic book, and it looks so great. I love how they're telling the origins of each of these versions of these characters and how they tell it. From the first Peter Parker saying he's been Spider-Man for 10 years, you see a montage, and they even like reference some of the other films, like when Peter Parker's dancing in the streets in Spider-Man 3, except you see Spider-Man in a costume dancing. You also find out Spider-Man had a Christmas album. But yeah, while it's a very entertaining film, it's also an emotional film. Because again, the dynamic of Miles Morales' family, how his father has these expectations for him and wants him to succeed, but at the same time comes across as pretty hard on Miles at times, even if it's for good reasons. Kingpin not only kills the Peter Parker Miles universe, he kills Uncle Aaron. And while this is an animated film that kids are gonna love, it's also a film that can be very serious and dark at times. The soundtrack is phenomenal. I love the song "What's Up Danger" when Miles Morales truly embraces being Spider-Man, when he's making his own costume, when he takes that leap of faith that Peter B. Parker tells him to take. And really, the themes of this movie isn't just about family or how like anyone can be Spider-Man. It's also about the weight of expectations. Miles is dealing with all these expectations, the expectations from his father, the expectations from his school because one of his teachers gives him an essay at the beginning of the film, the expectations from all the spider people to, right away become like them, to right away become Spider-Man and to help them get back to their verse. And that's what I mean when Miles, like Peter Parker, one similarity they do have is he's relatable. We all have expectations that people have on us. We all have certain things in our family that happens. We sometimes we go into different places, different schools, and we're very nervous. Sometimes our teachers have expectations for us, and that's why I love that. Like, yeah, it's someone different in the suit, but the similarity is that that person's still relatable. And it doesn't really matter who wears the suit, whether it's Peter Parker, Miles Morales, or Gwen Stacy. We all have similarities to these characters. We might have our differences, but we all have similar things with them, even though they're fictional characters. And this is also the last time Stan Lee does a cameo. He does a voice cameo in this film, in a Spider Man film, because a month before this film came out, unfortunately, Stan Lee passed away. And I love that there's a nice tribute at the end to Stan Lee and Steve Ditko. But Spider Man Into the Spider Verse is a phenomenal film. This came out in a crowded comic book movie year this year. Black Panther, Avengers Infinity War, Deadpool 2, Ant-Man and the Wasp, Aquaman, Venom. So many comic book movies had come out this year, and this ended up being one of the best comic book films to come out this year. Is this the best Spider-Man film? It's definitely one of the best. This is definitely one of my top two Spider-Man films. Um, I would say my favorite is still Spider-Man 2 from 2004 because I've seen that film so many times. I grew up on that film. So I'll be honest, I'll say Spider-Man 2 is still my favorite. This is my second favorite. But I can't really blame anyone who says that this is their favorite Spider-Man film or the best Spider-Man film that they've seen because this is a truly phenomenal film. It's well animated, it's well voice acted. The characters, the character development works out so well. Like there's all these different versions of these characters, but they don't need solo films before this film comes out to get to know them. I mean, we kind of understand who Peter Parker is by now, but this is the first time we're seeing Miles Morales in a film, and how they develop Miles' character works so well. How they develop Gwen Stacy works out so well. And even though the other spider characters don't play as big of a role, when they're on screen, they're entertaining, they're fun. You still kind of get what they're coming from. And the villains, even though I would say there's really three villains that stand out in this film, the designs of some of these villains, like Scorpion, was really cool. And we still need to get Scorpion in a live action film. Hopefully he's in the MCU Spider-Man 4. But overall, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse is a phenomenal film. Great music, great animation, great characters, great voice acting. Truly one of the best comic book films and animated films to ever come out. I'm gonna give Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse an A plus. Go see this film and go see Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse on the big screen. I'm definitely gonna be seeing it on the big screen because, like I said earlier in this video, I should have seen this film on the big screen. I get it. Like I looking back, like I did have trust issues with Sony and how they handle Spider-Man. I thought they were doing this obviously for money, which they probably are, but the heart and passion they put into this film was truly something special. Now, what do you think of Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse? Did you love it? Did you hate it? And what's one of your favorite Spider-Man films of all time? To me, it's Spider-Man 2 and Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. Let me know in the comments down below. And I want to thank you guys for watching. Please like and subscribe already if you haven't. Please share this with someone that loves Spider-Man. And I hope to see you guys real soon. Take care, everyone.